I was about 8 years old when this happened. It was one of those nights where you wake up without knowing why, no bad dreams, no loud noises. Just a sudden, instinctual jolt into wakefulness. My room was dimly lit by the soft orange glow of the streetlights outside, their beams cutting through the gaps in my curtains. At first, everything seemed normal. The familiar shapes of my furniture stood in their usual places. I yawned, ready to turn over and fall back asleep, but then something caught my eye. A shadow. I turned my head toward the window. My heart stopped. A man was standing there, outside my second-story window. He wasn't moving. He wasn't knocking or calling out. Just standing, almost as if he was waiting for something, or someone. His face was obscured by the shadows of the night, but his eyes. I'll never forget them. They were fixed directly on me. Even though he stood perfectly still, his gaze felt alive, like it was reaching out to grab me. For what felt like an eternity, I couldn't move. My body froze, my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just fear, I was too young to fully process what I was seeing. My child's mind struggled to make sense of how a person could possibly be there. My window wasn't on the ground floor. The thought finally clicked, he had to have climbed. I tried to scream, but the sound got trapped in my chest. All I managed was a hoarse, gasping whisper. Summoning every ounce of courage, I leaped from my bed and ran to my parents' room. Mom. Dad. There's someone at my window. I shouted, tears streaming down my face. My dad jumped out of bed and grabbed a flashlight, while my mom held me close, trying to calm me down. We all went back to my room together. My dad, braver than I would ever be, yanked back the curtains and shone his flashlight outside. The man was gone. The backyard was empty, eerily silent except for the faint rustling of leaves in the wind. But then my dad noticed something that made him step back. There was a ladder leaning against the house, right beneath my window. We didn't own a ladder. The police arrived not long after we called them. They combed through the yard and the surrounding area but found no sign of the men. The ladder, they said, was an old, rusted one that looked like it had been stolen from a construction site. It was covered in dirt, as if it had been lying somewhere and used for a long time. Probably just a prank, one of the officers said, though his expression didn't match his words. Kids, maybe. Happens sometimes. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just a prank. And judging by the way my parents held onto me that night, they knew it too. For weeks, I couldn't sleep in that room. My parents let me camp out on a mattress in their bedroom until I felt safe again. Eventually, life moved on, and I tried to convince myself it was just some weird, one-time incident. But here's the thing. Years later, when I was a teenager, my parents decided to renovate the house. One day, the workers were tearing out some old insulation in the attic space near my room. That's when they found something. It was a small, hidden stash of photographs. Every single one of them was of me. Some were taken during the day, me playing in the backyard, riding my bike, sitting by the window reading a book. Others were taken at night, through the very same window where I'd seen the men. One photo in particular chilled me to my core. It was a close-up of my face, fast asleep in bed. To this day, I can't help but wonder, had the men been watching me for weeks, months, maybe even years before that night? And the most horrifying question of all, if I hadn't woken up, what was he planning to do?